You may notice that today is not my normal posting day. I normally try and get things up Monday night. Sometimes it bleeds over into Tuesday morning, depending on how long I spend editing and how lazy I was over the weekend, etc., etc. But anyway, today's Thursday. So what am I doing posting a video on Thursday? Well, it just so happens that today is a very special day. Today is February 28th, 2013. And I'm sure some of you are going, yeah, I've looked at the calendar today. I actually already knew that. Today is the 1-year anniversary of me being hit by a car. And I am out on my motorcycle, riding around, because I'm still alive and still physically able to do so, and that's just a good thing. You know, that's a very, very good thing. So in honor of today's anniversary, I decided to masterfully recreate my crash. So we're going to go ahead and cut to that now. And here you go. Here's my crash.
So this is the intersection where I crashed. I was headed west on the main road, and this girl was sitting at a stop sign waiting to cross the road. She was, I think, on her cell phone, but I just remember cresting that hill thinking, oh god, if she pulls out, I'm gonna crash. Needless to say, she did pull out in front of me as I was coming down the hill, and I had enough time to think, oh crap, I'm gonna crash, lay the bike down. Which is what I did. I laid the bike down on the left side, and the bike actually hit her front axle and then slid and hit against her car, disabling her car. I came off of the bike and did a couple of flips on the pavement as best I can tell, and ended up underneath the engine with some fluid dripping down next to me. I woke up and I pulled myself out from underneath the car with all this crowd around me going, sir, can you come out from underneath the car? And I was like, I'm not a sir, but yes I can. I was in a lot of pain, and this guy comes up and he's like, oh, I'm gonna remove your helmet. And I'm like, hell no, you're not removing my helmet. Do not touch my helmet. And so he was just like, okay, and he backed off. Okay, who did this to me? And the crowd shifted, and there was this girl, and she was crying, so I was like, oh, okay, that must be the girl that did this to me. There was apparently a nurse on the scene that was on her way to work. She told me later that the girl had been crying so hard that she actually went over and started throwing up on the side of the road. And when the nurse told me this, she was actually kind of attacking me. She had come into my hospital room, recognized my helmet, recognized the crash, and she had been like, you were on Bailey. And I was like, yeah. And she's like, what are you doing riding a motorcycle? You shouldn't be riding a motorcycle. They're dangerous. That poor girl, she cried until she threw up. And I was like, I'm the one in the hospital. I would much rather be crying until I threw up as opposed to seriously injured. What is your problem, lady? Then the police showed up, and I got this really cool police officer. He starts feeling me up. Well, he starts feeling my chest, I assume for broken bones and, like, you know, punctured lungs, things like that. And I was like, dude, are you feeling me up? And he goes, yes, ma'am, in front of all these people. And I was just like, oh, okay, cool. So just the fact that he could take a joke on the scene of the crime made him pretty awesome for me. Because I was cracking horrible jokes the whole way through with the EMTs, the cops, everybody. So then the EMTs show up and they're like, okay, we gotta get your gear off. We're gonna cut it off. And I was like, no, I'm gonna take my gear off. So they wanted to cut my jacket off, and I was just like, well, I'll just take my jacket off. So I could get it off my left hand pretty easily, but my right hand ended up being broken. So I'd gotten it off one shoulder by the time that they forced me to lay down because they were worried about spinal injuries. And they were like, don't worry, we'll take it off when we put you on a backboard. So they ended up wedging the backboard under my left side and lifting me up and kind of letting the jacket fall off, which was incredibly painful. But then once I was stabilized, they removed my helmet, and Then they took me away to the hospital while the cop stayed behind with the girl who was apparently throwing up and gave her 2 tickets, one for not yielding into traffic and the other for not having insurance. That's my crash.
And so now that you've seen my absolutely ridiculous rendition of my own crash, I hope you can tell that I don't take it too seriously. This is just my way of coping. Some people freak out and get PTSD. I make horribly morbid jokes. Like, I tried to go as a zombie biker for Halloween this year, or a dead biker, you know, because I had all my beat up gear. I was like, dude, it'd be perfect. And all my friends were like, no, you were almost actually dead. We're not letting you do that. So they won. I just went as a regular zombie. But anyway, I did want to mention that the cop who was at my scene ended up being a really great cop for me to have at the scene of the crash, because he himself had been a biker. And when I was on the pavement and talking to the cop, I wasn't entirely coherent for the most part. So I just remember telling him, I laid the bike down, I laid the bike down, I laid the bike down. And if he hadn't been another biker, he may have thought what I was trying to say is I laid the bike down and therefore caused the crash. But since he was a biker, he knew that me telling him that I laid the bike down was actually that I was trying to not die. I did obtain a copy of the police report, and his notes at the end of the police report straight up say, Unit 2, which was me, laid the motorcycle down in an attempt to avoid collision, which I had actually been just trying to avoid flipping over the hood of the car, but he phrased it in such a way that it made it very clear that, you know, it was not my fault. And for that, I'm very appreciative, because it could have been worse. Yeah, it just happened, like, on my way to work. I had run home from class and was getting all my stuff together and leaving for work, and it just happened, you know. It wasn't anything I could do about it. And actually, that's probably been the hardest part for me, is forgiving myself for getting into a crash, because every day I would wake up and I would think, God, what could I have done differently? Could I have gone to the right? Could I have gone to the left? Could I have hit the brakes harder? Did I hit the brakes? You know, I think I did, but I don't know. And I think that's honestly been the hardest part for me, is just letting it go, stop reliving it, and honestly just accepting the fact that it happened, and I can't do anything to change it, and so why should I be focused on it? All I can do is try and prevent another one. Well, according to my mom, all I could do is give up riding motorcycles. However, that part's not changing. Not yet, anyway. Maybe one day.